What if I tell you a story which contains yet another story narrated by another person, and it contains another story narrated by another person which contains numerous other stories narrated by different people? Sounds complicated, isn't it? To make it more complicated, what if I say one of the stories is narrated by a parrot? But we could also say that it is a simple love story between two young couple challenged by fate and reunited with destiny. So, many of you have may guessed. Welcome to the world of Kadambari. Kadambari is a romantic novel in Sanskrit. It was substantially composed by Bāṇabhaṭṭa in 7th century CE, who did not survive to see it through its completion. The novel was completed by Bāṇabhaṭṭa's son Bhushaṇabhaṭṭa. So, it was conveniently divided into two parts, Purva Bhaga and Uttara Bhaga. Purva Bhaga belongs to that composition written by Bāṇabhaṭṭa, and Uttara Bhaga is the composition of Bhushaṇabhaṭṭa. This novel has an extremely intricate plot which is difficult to summarize concisely. Its central thread is that of a romantic attachment between the hero Chandrapida and the heroine Kadambari. However, there are several competing subplots. The heroine, or the titular character Kadambari, appears in the middle of the story. Many of the characters appears in multiple incarnations, some as humans, some as demigods or animals. The story is so complicated that a later poet has written an epitome of the story, Kadambari Kadasara, for the benefit of the ordinary reader who cannot disentangle the various parts of the narration and bring them together into a continuous narrative. This story, or this frame story I would say, is common in Sanskrit literature. Same story is put into the mouths of a few characters part by part, and all the parts become a single story. Now let's get into the thread of the story. While we begin, we witness the third incarnation of two people. When we are at the beginning, we are at the city of Vidisha, ruled by King Shudraga. One day, while Shudraga was resting in his court, a Chandala woman comes and gives him a peculiar gift, a talking parrot named Vaishambhayana. King Shudraga was very curious about the gift he received. After feeding him with morsels and resting for a while, King Shudraga asked Vaishambhayana to narrate his own tale. The narrative then shifts to the point of view of the parrot Vaishambhayana. Vaishambhayana then begins to narrate his tale. The parrot says that he used to live in the Vindhyan forest with his aging father. One day, the forest is overrun by Shabaras, a band of hunters, who killed an enormous number of animals and caused great destruction. Vaishambhayana's father is mercilessly killed in that massacre. Somehow, Vaishambhayana escaped from it and reached a hermitage which was under the leadership of sage Jabali. Jabali was curious about Vaishambhayana like other ascetic boys in the hermitage. Jabali says that in the country of Avanti, sage Jabali stares at the parrot for a while and remarks that he is experiencing the fruit of his own misbehavior. The other hermits become curious at this remark, and Jabali begins to narrate the tale which fills a large part of the Kadambari. So now the narrative once again shifts and Jabali becomes the narrator. In his previous birth, Vaishambhayana was the son of a minister, and the city in which he resided was Ujjaini. The city was ruled by King Tarapida, and his minister's name was Shrudasena. Both of them were childless. But one day, both of them had some peculiar dream. King Tarapira dreamed that his wife is engulfing a moon or a Chandra. In the dream of the minister, he saw a half-blown Pundariga or a lotus flower lying on the lap of his wife, Manorama. After 1 month of having this dream, both of them were blessed with a son each. King Tarapida named his son Chandrapida and his minister named his son Vaishambhayana. Both became bosom friends. After completing their university education, they returned to their kingdom. As a homecoming gift, Tarapida gifted a horse named Indrayudha to Chandrapida, and his mother gifted him a young maiden named Patralekha. So, along with Patralekha, Indrayudha and Vaishambhayana, Chandrapida set out for a Digvijaya or to conquer the world. After conquering many places and wandering off to various different places, they reached at the foot of the Himalayas. While the army and the rest of the companions were resting there, Chandrapida mounted on Indrayudha and followed a Kinnara couple. A Kinnara couple is a mythical creature or demigods. After following them for a long period of time, they eluded him heavy. But he was lost in the forest. And then he reached the Akhoda lake. In the Akhoda lake, he heard a beautiful voice of a veena playing. He followed the voice and reached a place where a young maiden dressed in white was playing a veena in worshipping Lord Shiva. After enquiry, he came to know that her name was Mahashweta, and she was the daughter of a celestial nymph. Chandrapida was curious about Mahashweta and asked her about her tale. Then the narrative once again shifts and Mahashweta begins to narrate her own sad love story. Mahashweta was the daughter of a celestial nymph, and one day while she was about to take a bath in the Akhoda lake, she happens to meet a young ascetic boy accompanied by his friend. An enticing smell was arising from the body of Pundarika or the ascetic boy. And she was very curious and instantly fell in love with him. His friend Kabinjala told her that Pundarika was the son of Lakshmi and Shwetaketu. One day, while they were walking in the forest goddess gave him a gift, a Pundarika flower, which he hanged around his ears, from which the sweet smell emanates. Both of them fell in love, but since he was an ascetic boy, this kind of love was forbidden for him. They were dejected. Mahashweta departs to her home. In her home, she was restless. She was stricken with love. She also happens to know that Pundarika is also in the same condition. As the moon rises, she goes out to the Akhoda lake to meet Pundarika. But there she saw Pundarika's dead body. Kabinjala explains that he was grief-stricken. Kabinjala also told her that Pundarika cursed the moon god, telling him that he would also face the pangs of separation and will born as human to this earth. The moon god also cursed Pundarika back that he too will get another life on earth. In that instant, Pundarika died. Mahashweta was also ready to sacrifice herself when a divine self from the heavens came down and stopped her from doing such thing. It asked her to wait for Pundarika's return and took Pundarika's body with it. Kabinjala also followed the divine being. Here, Mahashweta ends her narration. She says that she blames herself for the fate that befallen Pundarika. That's why she have given up all the riches and took up the ascetic form of life. Chandrapida was moved with the story and he consoled Maheshweda. Maheshweda also informed him about her friend Kadambari. Here comes the titular character. Kadambari was the daughter of a Gandharva. She was a bosom friend of Maheshweda. She took a vow that until Maheshweda is released from her grief, she herself will not marry. Maheshweda took Chandrapida to meet Kadambari. While they meet, yet again another love blossoms again between them. Chandrapida and Kadambari fell in love. But he cannot stay too long as his company is waiting for him there. So he had to return. Half dejected, he returns back. But soon he returns to Kadambari with Patralekha. And there he again has to leave behind once again Kadambari. As Chandrapida is about to leave, Kadambari requests that Patralekha be left behind as her companion. This agreed to, and Chandrapida returns to his camp. He receives a letter from his father Tarapida complaining of his prolonged absence and requesting his immediate return to the kingdom. Chandrapida sends a messenger to Kadambari, leaves Vaishambhayana in charge of the army, and marches rapidly onwards towards the capital. In a few days, he reaches Ujjaini. Patralekha also brings the news that Kadambari is suffering exceedingly from love sickness. Chandrapida's own state of mind is quite the same. He decides to solicit the help of his friend Vaishambhayana. He goes forth and meets his returning army, but hears the following strange accounts from his generals. While the army was camped at Lake Akkoda, Vaishambhayana went into a state of trance and seemed to be searching for something. He now refuses to be separated from the lake. Chandrapida becomes anxious for his friend and sets out in search of him. Having taken leave of his parents, however, he finds no trace of Vaishambhayana at Lake Akkoda. He meets Maheshweda there once again. Maheshweda then narrates a strange tale to him. Maheshweda saw a young Brahmin wandering about who made passionate advances of love towards her. She was inflamed by anger and cursed him that he would turn into a parrot. That very moment, he fell lifeless on the ground. It was only later that she learned that the youth was Chandrapida's friend Vaishambhayana. Chandrapida is rendered unconscious by this news. At this moment, Kadambari arrives at the scene, accompanied by Patralekha. Kadambari, thinking that Chandrapida is dead, prepares to immolate herself on his funeral pyre. At this moment, a disembodied voice calls out from the sky, "My child Maheshweda, the body of Pundarika is in my world. He remains imperishable until he unites with you." On the other hand, although Chandrapida's soul has fled because of a curse, his body is made of light and thus forever imperishable. Kadambari must see to it that his body is carefully guarded. Everyone is astonished by that comment. Patralekha exclaims that it is not proper for Indrayudha to remain on earth while his master is no more. She mounts him and throws herself along with the horse in the Akkoda lake. The very next moment, Kabinjala, friend of Pundarika, emerges from the lake. Maheshweda is delighted to see her lover's friend. Then Kabinjala makes some strange reclamations. Kabinjala narrates as follows. I chased the heavenly being who had carried aloft Pundarika's body to the moon world. This being declared himself to be the moon god, Kabinjala continues. As I hurled myself towards Shwetaketu, I inadvertently ran over an irascible sage who cursed me that I would become a horse. So it was because of a curse that Kabinjala turned into the horse Indrayudha. And he also made some other revelations. Chandrapida was the moon god who was cursed by Pundarika, and Pundarika himself was reborn as Vaishambhayana. So, the person whom Mahashweta cursed was none other than her own lover. Mahashweta was dejected after knowing the news, but she resolved to wait for him as he would reborn again one more time in the earth. Here, the narration of Sage Jabali ends. The parrot once again narrates. After learning about his past, the memories swished into his brain. The parrot, or Vaishambhayana in the form of the parrot, remembers all about his past. He asks about the present rebirth of his friend Chandrapida, to which Sage Jabali gives no answer. Now, we are once again returned back to the court of Vidisha. After narrating the tale to King Shudraga, the parrot stops. The Chandala woman who gifted the parrot to King Shudraga came back, and she reveals herself to be Lakshmi, the god of Pundarika. She claims that King Shudraga is none other than Chandrapida himself. After the revelation, Chandrapida goes back to his body, falls lifeless, and then goes back to his body, which is preserved by Kadambari. Vaishambhayana in the parrot form also falls lifeless, and his body from the heavens in the form of Pundarika also returns back to Mahashweta. The lovers get reunited. At Mahashweta's hermitage, the season of spring arrives gloriously. Chandrapida is brought back to life by the touch of Kadambari's hand. Pundarika appears from the heaven in the form in which Mahashweta had fallen in love with him. Both the couples are united. The parents of all the lovers gather around them, and everyone is overcome with joy. Chandrapida divides his days between Ujjaini and Mount Hemagetu, which is the descendant which is the place of Kadambari. He makes Pundarika the king of Ujjaini. The two couples live in eternal happiness. The story comes to an end here. As we stroll down, we could see various themes: reincarnation and fate, love and devotion, fate and sacrifice. Thus, the story comes to an end, and we could also see, under the analysis of Bharata's Natya Shastra, Sringara or love becomes the prominent dressa. Vipralamba Sringara or love in separation becomes crucial in the story. So let me conclude. Kadambari is a beautiful but complicated love story which is spread across births, generations, but united by destiny. Thank you.